Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. What can I do to do my part to the best of my ability and in an ever-increasing way to help people get results? The first component is mentorship. And mentorship is really important because, people say there is no shortcut to success. Of course, there's a shortcut to success. It's called people, right? Your mentors, your coaches, and things like that. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. You may have had the opportunity to work with a coach or a consultant, and you thought for a second that, wow, maybe this could absolutely change my business. It could change my world. But this question came up, will it work for me? Is it worth it? Should I do this? And maybe you stalled. Maybe you didn't make the decision. Maybe a year later, you're wondering, wow, what would have happened if I did it? In this episode, I am going to show you my process puts me in a position where I never lose money on coaching. I have never lost money on coaching, and coaching is something that I have been involved with. I've worked with a coach for the last 7 years in some capacity. And so I'm going to walk you through how I make that decision, and you're going to walk away from this knowing what programs to invest in, what coach to invest in, and how to never lose money on coaching. Okay. Now, this was all inspired because I had a friend of mine reach out. She had an opportunity to renew a contract with the coach she was working with. And she's like, this is how much it costs. And, I'm wondering if, I'm being afraid of investing in myself. Is that why I'm hesitating? And all of those things. And I said, okay, well, let's have a conversation. And it was such a beautiful conversation. At the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make this a podcast episode because this is a process that I've really dialed in. I've really thought about, and I want you to be able to have the same experience I've had. Okay. So she said, I have the opportunity to renew with this program. Let's say you start a new program or whatever. I'm going to make up some numbers here. And she's like, okay, it's, $500 a month. And, so that's not like it's too much, but I don't know about, I don't know, am I overthinking? I don't know if, what if I have some cash flow problems later and all of that stuff. And so I'm going to walk through the 5 different thoughts that I came up with. And so at the starting point, I said, well, when I think about working with a coach or a consultant, I never start from the standpoint of how much it will cost me. I'm more interested in the value that I am in the cost. And that's why for me, it's not a cost, it's an investment, right? I'm more interested in the ROI than I am with the cost. I don't make decisions based on cost. And to be clear, that doesn't mean I don't factor that in at all. That doesn't mean I don't think about it at all. Of course, I would have to, but that's not the starting point. The starting point is, what is the value I would get out of this? So what that means is, for me, I've already made a decision. This is what I need for my business, right? And different phases, it would be different things. Like if you have not launched a business, it'll be like, I need to launch a business. If you've launched a business, it's like, I need to take it to the first 100,000, the first 500,000, the first million, the first 10 million, whatever that number is. If you have a business that's thriving, chances are that you need a lot of support with team and systems and all of those kind of things, right? Like, so it's, what is it that I need, right? So that's where I start from. And then I look for a program or a coach that can take me to. So the starting point is not the coach. The starting point is not the consultant. So FOMO doesn't get the better of me because that's not what I'm looking for. I know what I need. At least I have a general idea of what I need. And I am looking for someone who can deliver that, right? And so again, I don't start from cost. I start from value. It is the value that I'm looking for. Okay. Now, when I look, so that was the first thing. The second thing is, I talked to her about is, and actually this is more of my thought process. I want to throw that out. When I'm looking at somebody to work with, I want to have some kind of safety. I know there are no guarantees and I take responsibility for my own guarantees. I'll talk about that in a second, but I want to make sure that this person can take me where I want to go. And so the way I look at it is, the person I'm going to work with is somebody who needs to have created the result that I want them to create for me. So they've created that in their own world. So that's one. Two is that they have helped other people create that result. So they have a track record of sorts. And then three, as much as possible, our values are aligned, right? And this becomes really important because, you can have somebody who's running a $10 million business and they put their business first. And you have another person who's doing a $10 million business and they put their family and their faith and their health and all of those things first. And they will run their businesses in completely different ways and their strategies will be completely different. It may land them in the same place, but then you're going to have complications, right? Like if you didn't pay attention to your family, well, who wants a $10 million business and not a family, right? Like if the opportunity cost was your family or your health, who wants that, right? And so we don't have to be exactly alike. We don't, but we want our values to be close enough that I'm not needing to fight every strategy because the strategy will not take me to where I'm trying to go because of my values, right? So for instance, in the EntreMD Business School, we talk a lot about building your dream business and your dream life concurrently because I'm so big on the fact that we have put so much of our lives on hold to get through medical school and residency training and fellowship and attendinghood and all of those things that I'm like, I am not willing to then put my life on hold more. I didn't know that as well when I started out as an entrepreneur, but I know that, oh my goodness, this is possible and this is the way that we need to do it. And so I'm like, we're going to build businesses and, building a business is going to require stuff from you. It's going to require the time. It's going to require effort. It's going to require money. But at the same time, oh my goodness, you could be building your dream life, right? Like you can start with one version of it. And as your business grows, you up the version. As the business grows, up the version. So you're ending up with both, right? And, that's what we train people on. So I'm really looking for somebody who has that. So they have their track record of their own results. They have the track record of results they've helped other people create. And they have values and our values are kind of aligned. Okay. So then I said, now, once you determine that, this is the value I want to get, and this person can take me there, then you want to start thinking like, I always think ROI. So if, in this example, if it's, $500 is what I'm paying per month, that means, that comes to $6,000 a year. And the question becomes, can I 4X that? Like 4X is my floor. I have many programs that I have 10X, 100X, all those kind of numbers, but can I 4X this? So what that means is in this case, can being in this program, if I follow what I'm learning, if I lean into the networks I have and all of that, can I create $24,000 worth of revenue, worth of an ROI? And if I can, then I gladly, do you see how just thinking about the math brings you to a place where you're like, oh, I could do that. I could do that, right? And you're going to say, but, and I'm coming. I have other things I'm going to talk about. I just want you to lean into this. Because for me, once the pathway to 4X is clear, then I'm ready to go, right? Like, how is this going to create that? Now, depending on the stage of your business, this could happen quickly. This could happen a little slower. Like, if you are starting a business and you don't know the first thing about business and all of that stuff, well, you may or may not get an ROI in the first 6 months or anything like that, but you will get an ROI. Like, that's the way I show up. I will get an ROI. Okay. And I'll talk about the responsibility part in a minute. And so for this person I was talking to, I was like, okay, great. So, like, this is the outcome I want. Like, I would love to work with this group. Clearly, you already worked with them for a year. So then the question then becomes, what is the pathway to an ROI? Like, if it is $6,500 a month, can this create $2,000 a month? And she's like, absolutely. I'm like, okay, how? It's like, well, there's the accountability. I'm like, okay, great. But accountability does not directly lead to dollars. So accountability in what way? Well, accountability where they help me look at my business as a whole, the numbers and all of those things. So because of that, I can eliminate waste. Because of that, it's very clear. It's easier for me to see if the decisions I'm trying to make are strategic or not. And all of those things, it shows me where I have opportunities. It shows me where I have threats. And I'm just not somebody who would look at my numbers otherwise or whatever. And I'm like, okay, beautiful. Now, do you think if you did that, it could bring you to this place where you're cash flowing from your investment, if you will, $2,000 a month? And she says, absolutely. I said, great. Now, remember that, of course, you have opportunities, in the community to network, and it's filled with your people. And one idea from them can create the whole 24,000 on its own, right? Like, so it's not as though that is the only way, but you want to map a way. You're like, okay, I see how I can 4X my investment. And 4X is not a cap. 4X is like the base. And you're like, oh yeah, I can see how I can do that. Okay. Now, if there is a concern, like, what if I can't make the payments or whatever, the question then becomes, so this is the next thing, like, if I had to create, in this case, $500 a month, let's say I had some cash flow problems, things happen, whatever. And you say, the question I would ask is, how can I create this? Like, let's say the usual way I would pay for this is not showing up. How could I create this? And, like, there are many things you can do, right? Like, so for someone who has an established business, that means you already have a client base. That means you already have an audience. You have all of these things. And so if you are, for instance, if you're a private practice, well, you know what to do to get more people to come in. If you're a coach, you can make more offers. Like, you can create it, right? Like, you can create it. If you're starting off, you're really early in your business, using debt may be something that you want to do, or using savings could be something. Like, you get to choose. But the clearer you are on what your plan B would be, the easier it is for you to say yes on something that could give you an unbelievable ROI. Okay. All right. So that was the fourth thing that I told her. Then the fifth thing I told her, I said, okay, so now that you know, I can make this into an investment, not a cost, because I can link it to value. I know these are the people that I want to work with. I see a pathway to 4X profitability, right? Or like ROI on my investment. And I know, like, if things happen, this is how I can afford to pay for this. I said, okay, so the next thing, and you have to be very clear on this, nobody's going to create the ROI for you. And please understand this. Like, I run a program. So of course I do everything within my power to help my people create results. But this is the thing, right? And this is the example I gave her. I'm a pediatrician. And you're a physician. So I hope you're not grossed out by this, but I'm like, in a nursing relationship. Okay. The mother is going to learn how to breastfeed the child, and the child is going to learn how to nurse. Okay. Both parties have to be playing for you to have a successful breastfeeding experience. Okay. So if the child is just like, if my mom really loves me, she'll feed me, that child is going to be hungry, or they're going to need to put the child on formula, or they need to put the child on TPN. Okay. They may need to do that. But so it doesn't matter how much milk the mom has if the baby will not nurse. Programs are that way. Working, going to school is that way. A marriage is that way. Programs are that way. Working with a coach is that way. It is a two-way thing. Both parties have to work for there to be an ROI. And so for me, I'm like, I want to be responsible for my ROI. I want to be in control of my ROI. I want to determine if I will get an ROI or not. And so I told her, I said, okay, so if you decide that the accountability is what I need from this program, then I'm like, you're going to have to get it. you're going to have to go after it. If you know that, wow, I need people, like what I need accountability with will be my numbers and all of those things. In that particular program, they had, like smaller groups and stuff like that. I'm like, you ask for the small group where people focus on this. You look out for the people who are nerdy, the people who get so excited if they were to see an Excel spreadsheet. I am not that person. I'm so amazed. If you are that person, I just know that I'm blown away by you. Okay. All right. So I said, you find those people and you become friends with those people. You raise your hands. You ask questions. If the conversation is going a certain way and you're not getting what you need, you raise your hand and you ask for it, but you're not going to sit in the corner and say, oh man, this is what I need, and they're not giving me what I need. Like, you're not going to do that. You're going to take radical responsibility for the ROI. You know that you're in the right container. You know that container can deliver the results. And you're like, I want that. And I'm going to get it. And I told her, I said, I have never, ever, ever lost money on a coaching program. It has never happened. It is never going to happen. And it's never going to happen because I show up and I'm like, I know exactly why I'm here. I know the outcome I'm trying to create. I know this community can deliver. I know the mentor leading the program can deliver. And I am going to be like a tree with really nice roots. I'm going to put my roots all the way in. I'm going to get all the mineral I need from the soil. Okay. All the moisture, all the minerals, all everything, all the nutrition. I'm going to get it. Right. So I'm like a big tree with big tap roots and I don't play. Okay. I said, if you want to get an ROI, that's what you're going to do. Nobody's going to spoon feed it to you. Nobody's going to read your mind and know what you want. Nobody's going to read your mind and know where you're struggling. Nobody's going to do that. That is your responsibility. And so I have never lost money. This has never happened. And so at the end of our conversation, I'm like, so what do you want to do? She was like, yeah, I'm going to renew. Like, I know that I know exactly what I need. I know they can deliver what I need. I'm going to show up and get what I need. And I'm going to create the ROI, right? So it becomes a very strategic decision, right? I make very strategic decisions when I want to invest. And again, I told her, because I invest pretty heavily myself. And I told her, I said, listen, like with what I'm trying to do with the current mentor that I'm working with, by the time I'm done doing it, I mean, like, I will owe her a lot of money, quote unquote, because the difference between what I've paid and what I'm going to get out of it is going to be night and day. But again, see, that is my decision. She can't make that decision for me. That is my decision to make, right? Okay. So this is how I make that decision. This is why I have never lost money. Okay. So I decide this is an outcome I need. This is somebody who can take me there. This is the investment. This is the pathway to at least 4Xing the investment. And this is the way I need to show up to get that ROI. I do not roll over. I do not play dead. I do not whine and complain. I don't do that. Life is too short. I have one life. This is not the rehearsal. This is the real thing. And I mean, I'm 45 years old. Right? We need to do this stuff if we're going to be celebrating the way I want to celebrate at 90. Okay. So I don't have time to mess around. Now, on the flip side, because this is the way I reason it out, this also is the reason why I have built the programs that I've built the way I've built them. So let's talk about the EntreMD Business School for a little bit, right? What is the value that somebody will get out of it? Well, the value is that you will have a profitable business. The value is that you would have made the transition from physician to physician entrepreneur. The value is that you will now become a master of your time. So you're able to get so much done in less time and you have time for the things that really matter to you. The value is you become an expert at sales, at marketing. And these are no longer sleazy things to you. You know how to do them in a professional way. The value is that you're able to build a team. You're able to build a team that gives you your time back and multiplies your impact because they come with all of these skills and expertise and experience that you do not have, right? But they give you your life back. The value is as you go on, you're able to build a company that is a business asset. So it's not only that you're delivering a service, but you've built a business that is an asset on its own that if you wanted to walk away from it, you could. And boy, would you have a pleasant payday. when you do that. Okay. Or if you choose to do that, right? Okay. So that is the value, it's the results, right? And the consequences, well, your marriage is better because you have time to focus on it and you're not burnt out or you're not like, and all of that. The value is that, your relationship with your kids is better. The value is that you have such a wonderful impression of the significance of what you do, the impact you have in the lives of people, whether they're your clients, whether they're your team members, whether it's people in your industry. The value is that you'll be able to transform industries if you choose to do that. The value is you get your life back and you get to be completely exempt from the amazing, by that I'm being very sarcastic, by the craziness in the healthcare space, okay? You get to be exempt from that. So when I think about that, I'm like, okay, what can I do to do my part to the best of my ability and in an ever increasing way to help people get results? So the first component, you hear me talk about these components over and over again. The first component is mentorship. And mentorship is really important because, people say there is no shortcut to success. Of course, there's a shortcut to success. It's called people, right? Your mentors, your coaches, and things like that. And so, for many things I tell them in the school, I say that on the podcast too, that I have taken one for the team. And so you don't have to go through this because I found the shorter way. I found the 10 ways not to do it. I found the way that does work. And so my job is to shorten the pathway to the results that you're trying to get. This is why I invest so heavily in coaching, right? I spend over 6 figures coaching every single year. Am I recommending you do that? Not necessarily. I will tell you I do that. And the reason I do that is I am responsible for thousands of physicians. People listen and say, oh my goodness, I was inspired by this. Oh my goodness, I now realize that building a 7-figure business, a multiple 7-figure business is possible for me. Writing best-selling books, launching a podcast that, changes the industry, leading a team, taking time off, getting my life back because I have a team that can run my business without me, all of those things. And so while that's amazing, that it's inspiring, it also means that I can be a lid. It also means I can be a lid. And so my job is to continue getting better so I can be a better and better mentor. That is why I invest so heavily in myself, so that I can help people get results faster. I can help them get results that they didn't think were possible. I can help them live life on their terms. I can help them do all of those things. So mentorship becomes something that we put in place to make sure that the strategies you need, the frameworks you need, the blueprints you need to create those results, that they are available to you. That's why we do that. So mentorship is a huge, huge part. Why? It's a shortcut. The second part is the accountability, because me included, we all have things we know. If I do this, it will absolutely change my business, but we just don't do it. Whether that's because we have mind drama, whether we just don't feel motivated, whether we feel scared, whether we think we have imposter syndrome, whatever that is. And so I know the power of accountability. People say, oh, you're always motivated, you're always showing up and all of that. No. I have a lot of accountability. I have a lot of accountability. And so part of what we do is we give the people we work with the gift of accountability. And that looks so many different ways, whether it's the challenges that we do, whether it's the smaller groups that we have. For some of them, it's as simple as a post on Facebook. Sometimes I'll call some people out, like, I see you not doing the work, right? Like do stuff like that. We have, the in-person events to bring you to a place where you can sit in a place and workshop stuff and get a lot of work done, right? We do it with so many different things we put in place just to keep you in momentum. The EntreMD Business School is structured such that even if you only did 30%, you hear many of our students say that even if you only did 30%, but you were doing like the best that you could, you will just move forward by default because we put those things together to help people move forward. Okay. All right. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is community. Community is so powerful. Listen, when I started off as an entrepreneur, so this is 14 years ago at this point, there was nothing entrepreneurial about me. And I remember I would literally Google like physician entrepreneur because I'm like, where are these people? Where are the people? Where are the people like me? Because there's nobody around me that was like me. And it was really hard. But I know the level of transformation that can happen if you are in the right community, because people say, oh, you won't grow by osmosis. You actually can. You can grow by osmosis. You can grow if you're in the right environment. All of a sudden, your limitations become obvious. Like, this is just a limitation. Like, this is something I can overcome. Your mind drama becomes obvious because you're like, oh, that person had the same drama, but yet look what they did, right? Like, the challenges become normalized. The hardship of entrepreneurship becomes normalized. The fact that you can move ahead even if there are challenges becomes obvious. The fact that you can learn skills, like the fact that you don't know, you're not good at marketing or selling or building a team or whatever, doesn't mean anything. You can learn it, right? You watch people like literally get transformed. And you're like, oh my goodness, what happened to this person? And you're like, if that could happen to them in 60 days, what could happen to me in 60 days? Being in a community is unbelievably amazing. And so we built this where you have the mentorship, you have the accountability, you have the community, all of those things. We built everything around that because we want you to know, like, if I come into this container and I own my responsibility, apparently these guys have owned their responsibility. We can create magic. Right? I want nothing more than to create magic with you. Right? And so the reason why I took the time to explain this process and walk you through this is people say a lot of things like, oh, coaching is fake and all of those things. And I think it's such a tragedy for anybody to think that, because think about it, right? Like, in what professional sport would a successful person say coaching is fake? Like, you're not going to get there without coaching, right? A lot of the executives we know and admire, that's what they do. A lot of the high level entrepreneurs, that's what they do. And so it's not fake, right? But you do need to know how to make the decision. And that's why I shared this. And I also wanted you to see that is that same philosophy that drives the way that the EntreMD Business School is structured. So if you are somebody who's committed to building a 6-7 figure business, or you're somebody who's like, I want to build a team so that I can build a business that can work without me, or I want to become someone who has revenue confidence, like I can create wealth. I can create a 6-figure business, 7-figure business, 7+ figure business. Like, I want to be that person. Well, the EntreMD Business School has your name written all over it. And now you know how to choose, so you can make a great decision like, is this for me or is this not for me? But I will tell you, we have served hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of physicians, and with results to prove, right? Like massive, crazy, wild results to prove, because it works, right? So you can make your own decision. Like my friend was able to make her decision. So I want you to think about, what is it that you want? Stop thinking in terms of cost. Stop thinking in terms of cost, at least not the leading thoughts. The leading thought is, what do I want? This is what I want. Who can give that to me? This person can give it to me. Do we share? Is this person the one for the job? Have they done it? Have they done it for other people? Do we share, values and all of that? You check that. They like, how can I 4X this? This is how I can 4X it. Boom, let's go. Let's go. Okay. So I want you to think about it for yourself. I want you to get those answers for yourself. And I want you to imagine that, for any program you sign up for, and it may be the EntreMD Business School. Of course, if you're someone committed to building a successful, profitable business, like we have been waiting for you. Okay. So come talk to us. But if you choose to do that, you become this person who you never bother about it, because you're like, I know how to create a return on investment. I will, like Dr. Una, I am deciding I will never lose money on coaching ever. Okay. All right. So I cannot wait. I think this is an episode that would be really great for you to share with the doctors in your world. And if this hit home for you, send me a DM, send me a PM, say, oh my goodness, Dr. Una, so this is on Instagram or Facebook. And you're like, that was amazing. Thank you for giving me a framework I can use to decide, if I'm going to invest in a coaching program and stuff like that. And like you, I've decided I'm not going to lose money on coaching. Okay. So let me know that this was helpful, and I'll see you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast.